The Treaty of Silent Chains. The council chamber stretched upward like a cathedral built for gods, its walls carved from living crystal that pulsed with bioluminescent veins. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the center of the circular floor, a single human woman surrounded by the representatives of 17 alien civilizations. Above her, holographic projections displayed the faces of counselors too important or too distant to attend in person. Each one regarded her with the same expression, a mixture of pity and condescension that made her jaw ache from clenching. The Thakari matriarch leaned forward, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Her species had been traveling the stars for 12,000 years before humans discovered fire. "Ambassador Chen," she said, her voice like wind through hollow reeds. "Surely you understand our position. Your species is brilliant, creative, passionate, but also dangerously impulsive. The preservation protocols exist to protect everyone, including humanity itself." Chen wanted to laugh or scream or both. Protection. Such a beautiful word for a cage. Around the chamber, holographic documents floated. The treaty that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The text was clear, brutally so. Humans could explore, colonize, and trade freely across any star system not claimed by other species. They could build merchant vessels, research stations, and colony ships of any size. But warships? Military vessels of any kind? Forbidden. Completely and permanently forbidden. "We've seen what happens when young species arm themselves too quickly," rumbled Ambassador Krell of the Kresh Empire, his scaled form imposing even through holographic projection. The Kresh were predators by evolution and temperament, their empire built on conquest before they'd been forced into the Coalition's so-called civilized framework. Wars that consume entire sectors, weapons that crack worlds. We will not allow Earth to repeat those mistakes. Chen looked down at the datapad in her hands, its surface displaying the treaty in 17 languages, including Mandarin, English, and Arabic. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held it. Behind her, transmitted on a slight delay, she could feel the weight of Earth watching, billions of people holding their breath, waiting to see if their ambassador would sign away humanity's future or condemn their present. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. 3 months ago, the Coalition had demonstrated their enforcement capabilities by effortlessly disabling and capturing a rogue mining corporation's armed asteroid haulers near Jupiter. The entire incident had lasted 47 seconds. Humanity's most advanced military vessels were still fusion-powered crawlers compared to the quantum drive warships that patrolled Coalition space. If Earth refused to sign, the blockade would begin within hours. No trade, no star travel, no future beyond their own solar system. "Ambassador Chen," the matriarch's voice was gentle now, almost motherly. "We know this is difficult, but in time you will see this is for the best. Humanity will thrive in peace." Peace. That word again used like a weapon. Chen thought of her grandfather, who'd fought in the resource wars before the world government finally formed. He'd told her once that there were 2 kinds of peace, the peace you built yourself and the peace others forced upon you. Only one of those was worth having. She signed. The stylus moved across the datapad's surface, her signature appearing in glowing blue characters that were immediately duplicated across every screen in the chamber. Somewhere on Earth, in the halls of the World Congress, the same signature was being authenticated and sealed. The preservation protocols were now law. Humanity had traded its teeth for the stars. The alien counselors erupted in polite applause, their various appendages creating a strange symphony of clicking, tapping, and rustling. Chen stood frozen, the datapad still in her hands, feeling like she'd just sold her entire species into civilized slavery. "A wise decision," the matriarch said warmly. "Welcome to the Galactic Coalition, Ambassador. Your people will find their place among us." Yes, Chen thought bitterly, our place. At the bottom, looking up. The news reached Admiral Sarah Kovach 3 hours after the signing, transmitted through quantum relay to the Clark station orbiting Mars. She stood in her office, a Spartan room dominated by windows that looked out at the red planet below, and watched the press conference replay on her wall screen. Chen's face was professionally composed, her voice steady as she explained the terms to Earth's population. But Kovach had known Chen for 15 years, since their days together at the Naval Academy back when humanity still believed it might chart its own course. She could see the rage buried beneath that diplomatic mask. The door chimed. "Come," Kovach said without turning around. Marcus Webb entered, his engineer's jumpsuit still marked with carbon scoring from whatever project he'd been working on in the station's fabrication labs. He was younger than Kovac by a decade, his hair still dark where hers had gone silver, but his eyes held the same hard determination she'd seen in the mirror that morning. "So it's done," Webb said, moving to stand beside her at the window. "We're officially harmless." "Officially," Kovac agreed. She switched off the screen, unable to watch Chen's performance anymore. "Marcus, do you remember what we talked about? That night after the Jupiter incident?" Webb's jaw tightened. "Every word. I'm making it official. I'm greenlighting Project Pioneer." She turned to face him fully now, her admiral's uniform suddenly feeling too heavy, too formal for what she was about to do. "We're going to give them exactly what they asked for. Civilian ships, colony vessels, peaceful exploration platforms. All completely legal under the new treaty." A slow smile spread across Webb's face. "Admiral, are you suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything." Kovac moved to her desk, pulling up holographic blueprints that she'd been working on in secret for weeks. The design rotated in the air between them. A massive vessel, easily 5 times the size of any current human ship. On paper, it was a colony transport, designed to carry 10,000 settlers and all their equipment to new worlds. Enormous cargo bays, powerful engines, redundant life support systems, manufacturing facilities, hydroponic gardens, and hidden in every structural element. Embedded in every system was the capacity for transformation. Webb leaned in, his engineer's eye immediately catching what Kovac had done. The cargo bays had reinforced walls and independent power systems. The mining equipment included laser arrays that could be recalibrated in minutes. The colony modules were segmented in a way that would allow rapid conversion into armor plating. Even the enormous engine arrays could be rerouted to power weapon systems that didn't officially exist yet. "It's beautiful," Webb whispered. "They'll inspect every centimeter of these designs. And they'll find a colony ship," Kovac said. "Because that's what it is, right up until the moment we need it to be something else." She met his eyes. "Can you build it? Can you make ships that pass every inspection, every scan, every audit, and still give us what we need?" Webb was quiet for a long moment, his mind clearly racing through calculations and engineering challenges. Then he nodded slowly. "It'll take time, years probably. We'll need to be subtle, build the capabilities in pieces, make sure every component has a legitimate civilian purpose. But yes, I can build your warships that aren't warships." "Then get started." Kovac pulled up a list of names: scientists, engineers, ship designers, all people she trusted absolutely. "I'm putting together a team. Everything stays compartmentalized. The coalition can't know what we're doing, and neither can most of humanity. If this gets out before we're ready, it won't," Webb said firmly. "Admiral, we're going to do this right. We're going to build a fleet of civilian ships so good at being civilian ships that nobody will ever question them. And when the day comes that we need them to be something more—" He looked at the blueprint again, his expression hardening. "The galaxy is going to remember why they were afraid of us in the first place." Kovac felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. Hope, maybe, or possibly just defiance taking root. She thought of Chen, standing alone in that alien chamber, forced to sign away humanity's sovereignty. Chen had done what she had to do. Now Kovac would do the same. "One more thing," she said as Webb turned to leave. "We're not building weapons to conquer anyone. We're building insurance. So that the next time someone decides humanity needs to be protected, we have a choice." Webb paused at the door, his hand on the frame. "And if they never threaten us? If the preservation protocols actually work, then these will stay peaceful colony ships forever," Kovac said. "And I'll die a happy woman, knowing we wasted years of work on a backup plan we never needed." She smiled grimly. "But I don't think that's going to happen." "Do you?" Webb shook his head. "No, Admiral. I really don't." 5 years passed like a held breath. Earth shipyards, liberated from military contracts, exploded with civilian construction. The Pioneer-class colony ships were marvels of engineering, massive vessels that could transport entire communities to distant worlds, complete with everything needed to establish self-sufficient settlements. The coalition inspectors praised their design, particularly impressed by humanity's innovative use of modular construction and adaptive systems. 32 Pioneer-class ships were built in those 5 years. Each one passed every inspection. Each one carried thousands of hopeful colonists to new worlds, and each one was a sleeping dragon, waiting for the signal to wake. The signal came on a Tuesday. The colony of New Harmony had been established 3 years earlier, a thriving settlement of 40,000 humans on a beautiful world orbiting a yellow star, 70 light-years from Earth. They'd built farms and factories, schools and spaceports. They'd even hosted a coalition cultural exchange, welcoming Thakari artists and Velrani scientists to experience human hospitality. Then the Kresh Empire decided New Harmony's system was strategically valuable. The attack came without warning, without declaration, without mercy. 23 Kresh warships dropped out of quantum space and began bombardment of the colony's orbital facilities. 3 human cargo freighters were vaporized in the opening salvo. The message was clear: submit or die. In orbit above New Harmony, 3 Pioneer-class colony ships floated serenely. The CSS Mayflower, Endeavor, and Horizon, each preparing to depart with new colonists after a scheduled maintenance stop. The Kresh fleet broadcast their demands to the colony below and to the 3 helpless civilian vessels above. Evacuate immediately, and New Harmony would become a Kresh protectorate. Resist, and the bombardment would continue until nothing remained but ash. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the Mayflower, watching the Kresh fleet arrange itself for maximum intimidation. Around her, the bridge crew maintained their posts with professional calm, though she could see the tension in every set of shoulders. Her ship was a colony transport, unarmed, peaceful, completely defenseless according to every scanner the Kresh were undoubtedly running. "Captain," her first officer said quietly, "the colony governor is asking for instructions." Santos looked at the tactical display, counting the Kresh warships, 23, against 3 civilian vessels and 40,000 colonists who'd come to New Harmony believing the coalition's promises of protection. She thought of Admiral Kovac, who'd died 2 years ago. Her final message to Santos encoded and hidden in routine personnel files. "When the day comes, make the choice that lets you sleep at night." She reached forward and pressed a red button that officially didn't exist on her console. "All hands." "This is the captain," Santos said, her voice carrying through every deck of the Mayflower. "Protocol Pioneer is now active. Engineering initiate transformation sequence. Weapons teams man your stations. Communications. Signal the Endeavor and Horizon. Execute on my mark." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as crew members ran to stations that had been hidden behind false panels for 3 years. Santos watched her displays change as systems came online throughout the ship. Systems that had passed every inspection because they'd been cleverly disguised as mundane colony equipment. The transformation took 3 minutes and 47 seconds. The Mayflower's enormous cargo bays opened, but instead of releasing transport shuttles, they revealed missile racks, hundreds of them, preloaded with munitions that had been manufactured in the ship's own fabrication facilities and disguised as mining charges and construction explosives. The ship's hull began to shift as modular plates rearranged themselves, creating overlapping armor from components that had been carefully designed to serve dual purposes. The civilian sensor arrays folded away, replaced by military-grade targeting systems, and deep in the ship's core, the massive fusion reactors that had been over-engineered for safety proved their true purpose, pumping enough power to energize weapon systems that suddenly existed where none had been before. The Endeavor and Horizon transformed in perfect synchronization, 3 sleeping dragons opening their eyes simultaneously. On the lead Kresh warship, Commander Vex stared at his displays in complete incomprehension. The 3 helpless colony ships were changing, metamorphosing. His sensors were detecting weapon signatures, armor configurations, power readings that matched military-grade warships. But that was impossible. Humans didn't have warships. The preservation protocols, incoming fire. His tactical officer screamed. The Mayflower spoke first, her missile batteries launching in a precisely calculated pattern that the crew had drilled in secret for years. 300 missiles crossed the distance to the Kresh fleet in 18 seconds, their targeting systems making thousands of micro-adjustments as the Kresh ships scrambled to respond. The first barrage wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to blind. Hitting sensor arrays and communication relays with electromagnetic pulse weapons, that had been smuggled aboard as industrial electromagnetic generators. The second barrage, arriving 30 seconds later, was designed to kill. Santos watched the tactical display with a calm that surprised her. 5 years of pretending, 5 years of inspections and false reports and playing the helpless civilian captain, all of it building to this moment. The Kresh fleet was in disarray, their formations breaking as ships tried desperately to establish new communication networks and clear their sensors. They'd expected easy prey. They'd gotten apex predators. Target their command ship, Santos ordered. Full alpha strike. The Mayflower's main weapons, mining lasers that had been carefully overbuilt and secretly modified, carved through the Kresh flagship's shields like paper. Designed to cut through asteroid rock, they found military armor only slightly more challenging. The Endeavour and Horizon coordinated their fire, each ship operating with the precision of a crew that had trained for this scenario in simulator after simulator. Always in secret, always preparing for the day that everyone hoped would never come. 23 Kresh warships had entered New Harmony's orbit. 47 minutes later, only human ships remained. The galaxy remembers, the silence that followed the battle was more profound than any sound could have been. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the Mayflower, surrounded by displays that showed the wreckage of the Kresh fleet drifting through New Harmony's orbit. Debris fields sparkled like deadly constellations, each piece a fragment of ships that had entered this system expecting an easy conquest. Her crew moved quietly through their post-combat routines, securing systems, accounting for ammunition expenditure, checking for damage. The transformation back to civilian configuration would take hours, but Santos had already decided they wouldn't bother. Not yet. Not until they knew what came next. Captain, Lieutenant Chen, no relation to the ambassador, said from communications, "We're receiving approximately 7,000 simultaneous signals. Coalition emergency channels, news networks, diplomatic corps. Everyone wants to know what just happened here." Santos nodded slowly. Of course they did. Humanity had just torn up the preservation protocols in the most public, most violent way possible. The carefully maintained fiction of human weakness had been incinerated along with the Kresh fleet. She thought of Ambassador Chen Wei, who must be fielding impossible questions right now in some coalition chamber somewhere. The woman who had signed away humanity's right to defend itself had just been proven either a liar or a fool, and Santos suspected Chen would prefer the former. "Transmit our logs to Earth," Santos ordered. "Full tactical data, transformation sequences, everything. The galaxy knows we have teeth now. They might as well see exactly how sharp they are." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "And send a message to the Coalition Council. Tell them Captain Maria Santos of the CSS Mayflower, acting in defense of human colonists under unprovoked attack, requests an immediate session to address the Kresh Empire's violation of peace accords." Her first officer, Commander James Martinez, let out a low whistle. "Captain, we're the ones who violated the preservation protocols. They're going to say, let them say whatever they want." Santos interrupted, her voice harder than she intended. "The Kresh attacked a peaceful colony. We defended it. If the Council wants to argue about the tools we used, they can explain why their protection didn't show up when 23 warships decided to claim our world." The truth was, Santos had no idea what would happen next. The plan, Kovac's plan, crafted over 5 years and executed by hundreds of people who'd kept the most dangerous secret in human history, had never extended past this moment. They'd built the capability to fight, hidden it in plain sight, and prayed they'd never need to use it. Now that prayer had gone unanswered, and humanity stood exposed before a galaxy that had spent 5 years believing it toothless. "Ma'am," Chen said, "we're getting a priority transmission from Earth. It's President Okonkwo herself." Santos straightened her uniform instinctively, then felt foolish for the gesture. Her ship was still in combat configuration, her crew still wearing emergency suits, and she probably looked like she'd just fought a battle. Because she had. But old habits died hard. On screen, President Amara Okonkwo appeared, her face composed but her eyes showing the strain of someone who'd aged years in the past hour. Behind her, Santos could see the familiar wood paneling of the presidential office in Geneva, and through the windows the lights of the city at night. Earth time was nearly midnight. "Captain Santos," Okonkwo said, her Nigerian accent precise and controlled. "On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I want to thank you for your courage today. You and your crew saved 40,000 lives." "Thank you, Madam President," Santos replied formally. "We did what was necessary." Okonkwo's expression shifted, becoming something harder, more determined. "The coalition is in chaos. Half of them are demanding immediate sanctions against humanity. The other half are quietly asking how many ships like yours we have." She leaned forward. "Captain, I need you to be honest with me, because in approximately 3 hours I have to stand before the entire Coalition Council and justify what happened at New Harmony. How many Pioneer-class ships are actually warships?" Santos had expected the question, but hearing it stated so bluntly still sent a chill through her. The secret that had been kept so carefully for 5 years was about to become common knowledge. "All of them, Madam President. All 32 Pioneer-class colony ships currently in service were built with dual-purpose capability. Given appropriate orders and sufficient time, every single one can transform into a combat vessel." She watched Okonkwo process that information, saw the flash of emotions cross the president's face. Shock, then calculation, then something that looked like grim satisfaction. 32 ships, Okonkwo repeated quietly. "Admiral Kovacs built us a fleet." "She built us insurance," Santos corrected gently. "The ships serve perfectly well as colony transports. Most of their crews didn't even know about their combat capabilities until today. We've moved hundreds of thousands of colonists safely, established dozens of new settlements, all while maintaining the fiction that we were harmless. But yes, when needed, we have a fleet. And the coalition inspectors never suspected. The inspectors saw exactly what they expected to see. Overbuilt civilian vessels from a young species that tends to over-engineer everything for safety." Santos allowed herself a small smile. "We have a reputation for being paranoid and excessive. Admiral Kovacs used that reputation like camouflage." Okonkwo was quiet for a moment, her fingers drumming on her desk, a tell that Santos recognized from news coverage. The president was thinking, weighing options, calculating consequences. "The Thakari matriarch is calling for your arrest, Captain. She claims you've committed an act of war against the entire coalition by violating the preservation protocols. The Kresh committed the act of war when they attacked New Harmony." Santos shot back. "We just defended ourselves. I know that. You know that. But the council..." Okonkwo shook her head. "They're terrified, Captain. Not of the Kresh, they can deal with the Kresh. They're terrified of humanity. We've just proven we're capable of deception on a scale they didn't think possible. For 5 years we looked them in the eye and lied about our capabilities. Every inspection we passed, every ship we certified, every promise we made about peaceful intentions, all of it compromised by what you revealed today." Santos felt a flash of anger. "They forced us to lie. They gave us a choice between submission and isolation. What did they expect would happen when they treated us like children who couldn't be trusted with our own defense? They expected us to comply," Okonkwo said simply. "And now they know we didn't. Captain, I need you to understand what's at stake here. If the coalition decides humanity is too dangerous, too deceptive, too unpredictable, they can blockade Earth again. They can shut down every human colony, every trade route, every diplomatic mission. They outnumber us thousands to one. 32 warships, no matter how well designed, cannot stand against the combined might of the Galactic Coalition." "Then what do you want me to do?" Santos asked, hearing the exhaustion creeping into her own voice. "Surrender? Apologize for not dying quietly when the Kresh attacked?" "No." Okonkwo's voice turned fierce. "I want you to come to the council chambers. I want you to stand beside me when I address them. I want them to see the face of the captain who chose to save her people, instead of following rules written by species who weren't there when we needed them." The president's eyes blazed with an intensity that Santos had never seen in her careful diplomatic leader. "They want to know if humanity is dangerous. Let's show them exactly how dangerous we are, and exactly why they should be grateful. We're on their side." The Coalition Council chamber looked exactly as it had 5 years ago when Ambassador Chen had signed the preservation protocols. But this time the atmosphere was electric with tension. Santos stood beside President Okonkwo at the center of the circular floor, acutely aware of the 17 alien civilizations arrayed around them. Some regarded her with open hostility, others with barely concealed curiosity, and a few, she noticed, with what might have been grudging respect. The Thakari matriarch was the first to speak. her four eyes fixing on Santos with an expression that transcended species, pure, cold fury. Captain Santos, you stand accused of deceiving this council, of violating the preservation protocols, and of threatening the peace we have carefully maintained for centuries. How do you answer these charges? Santos had rehearsed this moment a dozen times on the journey to the coalition station, but now that she was here, the prepared words felt inadequate. She looked up at the matriarch, at the crystal walls that seemed to pulse with judgment, and decided to speak the simple truth. I defend my actions completely, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The Kresh Empire sent 23 warships to conquer a human colony. They destroyed civilian vessels, threatened to bombard population centers, and demanded submission under threat of annihilation. My ship and crew intervened to protect 40,000 innocent people. If that violates your protocols, then your protocols are worthless, the chamber erupted. Delegates shouted across the floor. Holographic displays flickered with rapid-fire diplomatic communications, and for a moment Santos thought the entire council might dissolve into chaos. But President Okonkwo raised her hand, and somehow, through presence or authority or simply the novelty of a human leader demanding attention, the noise gradually subsided. Members of the council, Okonkwo said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space, let us be absolutely clear about what happened at New Harmony. The Kresh attacked first. They violated peace accords that predate humanity's arrival in this chamber. They committed an act of war against a peaceful colony, and when Captain Santos defended her people, she used tools that exist precisely because this council failed to protect us. Ambassador Krell's hologram materialized larger, his scaled face filling multiple displays. The preservation protocols exist to prevent exactly this kind of escalation. Humanity was forbidden military vessels for good reason. Young species cannot be trusted with weapons of war.
Cannot be trusted?
Okonkwo's laugh was sharp and bitter. Ambassador Krell, your empire conquered 17 star systems before the coalition forced you to civilize. The Velrani fought a war that sterilized 6 worlds. The Thakari maintained a slave caste for 4,000 years until they decided it was beneath them. Don't lecture us about trust when every species in this chamber earned their seat through violence. That makes our history look tame by comparison. Santos watched the council members react to that statement, saw the uncomfortable shifts and averted eyes of species confronting their own pasts. Okonkwo pressed her advantage. 5 years ago you asked us to trust you. You said the preservation protocols would protect humanity, that we didn't need warships because the coalition would ensure our safety. Ambassador Chen Wei signed that treaty in good faith, believing your promises. Okonkwo's voice dropped, becoming colder. Where was the coalition when the Kresh attacked New Harmony? Where were your mighty fleets? Where was the protection you promised? The matriarch's voice was quieter now, almost defensive. The Kresh acted outside council authority. Their aggression was not sanctioned,